It's very important for us to fully understand our complete impact in terms of our carbon emissions. We're the largest electricity user in London, and we also consume 0.5% of the UK's annual electricity demand each year. That's just for a regional transport authority. So it's very important that we establish a baseline in terms of our carbon emissions so that we can set an appropriate reduction plan in place to hopefully reduce those emissions as we go forward through our line upgrade programme. Scope 2 carbon emission reductions are essentially reductions in the purchased electricity that we consume. The line upgrades, even though they will provide a fantastic new form of transport in London and increase peak capacity into London by almost a third, they also have an adverse effect in terms of the increased electricity demand. So we need to implement measures to reduce that overall electricity demand across the network. We're looking at innovative engineering techniques. All of the new rolling stock by 2020 will have regenerative braking capability. On our subsurface lines, which are our Circle, District, Hammersmith and City and Metropolitan lines, it will reduce annual carbon emissions by up to 10,000 tonnes each year. We're also looking at automatic train control and train operation, taking that train operation away from the drivers and allowing the trains to be driven in a much more sustainable and environmentally friendly way. We're also looking at the uprating our voltage supply on the network from 630 to 750 volts. It might not sound like much, but there is a much more efficient use of the electricity that we use to power the railway. Carbon reduction measures that we're looking to put into place to reduce the overall purchased electricity consumption of the railway include innovative engineering techniques, the application of regenerative braking, which is seen in domestic cars, such as the Toyota Prius, for example, is being applied to our rolling stock. We're also looking at measures that we could apply to our stations, for example, solar panels, photovoltaic cells, wind turbines. So we're considering a whole breadth of options right across the network to try and reduce our overall purchased electricity consumption, and by doing so, bring down our overall carbon footprint. We've established an energy station challenge across our network. We have 270 stations, and now the majority of stations all have an energy champion. It is their responsibility to consider how at their station they can reduce the overall electricity usage and reduce the overall carbon impact of that particular station. We've empowered our staff to look at how they could tackle things such as lighting left on at platforms on sunny days, and also switching off escalators when passenger demand allows us to do so. It's a really fun scheme and has really got the staff engaged well. It's a very competitive programme where the system is run like a football league, where stations get points depending on how their energy performance changes over the current year in comparison to the previous year. At the end of the season, we have a big awards ceremony. All the station staff get together and we celebrate their achievement. And we've achieved some real reductions over the last couple of years. Well, essentially, it's about a change of practice, really, and it's showing staff that they can do so. A lot of the time, staff feel restricted by standards and process management and the way that we've always done things. And a lot of the time, you find that staff don't believe that they can turn off the lights or that they can switch off an escalator. They're concerned that they will get into trouble. So we've got senior management buy-in, we've empowered staff to take their own actions, and we will fully support them in everything that they do. Well, one company that I look up to a lot is the bank Merrill Lynch. They've done a lot with regards to staff engagement. That's really important for us at London Underground. We have a fantastic engagement programme on Energy Station Challenge with our operational staff, but we're yet to fully engage with our head office staff. And Merrill Lynch have shown through their programme that they have actually altered the way that their staff travel. Their air travel is down, for example, not just because of the economy situation and people travelling less, but because their staff are really considering, do I really need to go to that meeting? And I would really like to take that back to London Underground and start to engage in our staff in the same way. I think, again, it's based about learning from people's experiences, but also answering some tricky questions. I think that a lot of people on the forum, in response to an article that I did about our carbon footprint, came back to me with a number of questions. It's important to answer those questions with people, even if it makes you think, and you really have to think hard about the answers, because then you are considering climate change in your everyday work, and that's definitely something that I want to do. The Low Carbon Best Practice Forum certainly has allowed me to investigate what other organisations are doing to tackle climate change, and hopefully I can learn from their measures that they have implemented, and hopefully use some of that knowledge to implement that at London Underground.